Wait a minute, isn't the next review supposed to be Touhou 7 Perfect Cherry Blossom? Well, that is the next game in the series, but there's no rule that says I have to review them in order. Hell, I skipped out on the PC98 games entirely. In all seriousness, I just wanted to try reviewing a Touhou game that was a little more different. So here's one of the many Touhou spin-off games. Yeah, one of them, as Touhou is no stranger to spin-offs, many of them being fighting games, believe it or not. Touhou 14.3, Impossible Spell Card. Yep, 14.3. This series got decimal numbers just like Kingdom Hearts. Or Naked Gun, I guess, if you prefer. And yeah, we're jumping all the way from Touhou 6 to 14.3. But you really don't have to play any of the other games to understand the story this time, nor is Touhou really a series I would say you play for the story. At least, I don't. Yeah, I don't have a physical copy of this game to show off to the camera, but that's because the newer Touhou games are pretty much all available on Steam. Not in English per se, but there's always the free fan patches out there, shoutouts to Touhou Prep. I do generally like having my games be physical, but I figured it was going to be cheaper to just get it on Steam, rather than importing a copy from Japan. Impossible Spell Card was actually the newest Touhou game at the time that I started playing and became a fan. Impossible Spell Card? Surely it's not actually impossible. It wasn't until I saw a video by Asprey FM earlier this year that I got to really learn what this game's all about. Really good video, by the way. I haven't really played very many of the Touhou spin-offs. In fact, the only other one I played was Soku, a fighting game. But I've been curious about Impossible Spell Card ever since because of the premise of the game, which I'll get into soon. This is a review after all. Sounded really interesting to me. But before we get started, this video is sponsored by wait, no, I was just kidding, don't skip the video. Here we go, Impossible Spell Card. I always liked how her silhouette is on the title screen, and then becomes her regular portrait once you get into the menu. Impossible Spell Card stars that one bitch from Touhou 14 who fucked up many of my 1cc attempts by inverting my controls, fucking with my muscle memory, and making me declare that game to be the hardest game in the mainline series, aka Seiya Kijin. Not to be confused with Seiga from 10 Desires, who's not to be confused with, yeah, that. Seiya has apparently become a wanted criminal for something, I don't know. Make your theories as to why. Oh wait, never mind, it says why in the damn tutorial. I genuinely forgot about that until I went to record footage. Anyway, she's got a bounty on her, so many of Gensokyo's residents are coming after her, but they're not playing by the rules, so to speak. They're using attacks and spell cards that are considered impossible to dodge. But thankfully for Seiya, she's an even bigger cheater, since she brought along cheat items to help fight back. Just like Touhou 6, it's a simple story, but I'm glad it's at least easy to understand. See, the thing is, I feel like in Touhou 8 onwards, the story of the mainline games start getting really convoluted, with so many hidden details, lore, and motivations that aren't explained well within the game itself. In my Touhou 6 review, I talked about how weird the dialogue can be at times, and that's pretty much true for the whole series, so it isn't the best at helping to explain everything that's going on. Seems like you gotta go out and buy all these books to get the full picture. And yes, there are Touhou books, many of them. But anyway, yeah, Impossible Spell Card. Not an award-winning story, but hey, it works. Just like the mainline games, Impossible Spell Card is a vertical scrolling shoot-'em-up game. Specifically, it's a bullet hell because, yeah, that. You can move, shoot, and focus as per usual, and oh hey, so that's how small my hitbox is. Yeah, you can now see your hitbox while focusing. This was something that was first added all the way back into 07, but I'm bringing it up here because I didn't review that game. Yet. Maybe. I don't know. And for those who haven't seen the last review, well, focusing also slows down your movement so you can make more precise dodges. But that's about where the similarities end. There's no bombs or power meter this time around, your shots are pretty much always at a fixed power level. This is to accommodate the biggest difference of this game, that being the structure. See, for pretty much all the mainline Touhou games, they followed a short, arcade-like structure. There were 6 stages to go through, and you had a limited amount of lives and bombs to get through them all. In Impossible Spell Card, there are no lives or stages per se. Instead, the game's structure reminds me a lot more of something like Super Meat Boy. The game is broken up into scenes. Each scene is a very short, self-contained one spell card challenge. Beat the spell card, and you beat the scene. If you happen to get hit, you'll just have to restart the scene again. There's a ton of these scenes in the game too, over 70, so the game actually saves your progress. And you can always replay completed scenes. Now, I cannot stress how much I love this structure over the stage-based system in the mainline games. It fixes one of my biggest problems that I've always had with Touhou games. To explain it, well, have you ever tried getting a good time in Mario Kart time trials? You're constantly restarting at any mistake, at least near the beginning of the attempt, because it's near the beginning and you'd rather continue without that time loss. You're looking for that one attempt where you at least mostly do everything right. And that's how it is for me with the mainline Touhou games. In those games, it's basically an endurance round, where you really want to make sure you have enough lives to get you through the whole game. Very often, I'll start a playthrough of a Touhou game, and because I'm human, I'll make a mistake and lose a life early on. And because early on, and because losing that life will affect the entire rest of the playthrough, I have to restart. I need to save those lives for the really hard parts of the game, so I can't afford to be losing lives to stuff I know I can survive. Especially because losing a life means you also lose all bombs you had on that life. It can become very tedious replaying the same beginning stages over and over again, because I didn't play absolutely perfectly. Oh, I made a mistake and lost a whole life to the stage 2 boss? Guess I gotta restart and replay both stage 1 and 2 again. Yeah, I could turn down the difficulty, but then it becomes too easy. It's not that I can't handle, say, hard mode, I just don't like when it becomes a reset fest before I feel like I truly started. I didn't bring this problem up during my Touhou 6 review, partly because that particular game is the easiest one for me. I don't reset nearly as much on that game compared to the other games, especially the modern ones. But this is why I love the scene-based structure. It allows me to enjoy the shooting and dodging of Touhou without the tedium of restarting all the time. I make a mistake in Impossible Spell Card and die, I just gotta restart the short scene again, just like in Super Meat Boy or Celeste, one of the reasons I really enjoyed those games as well. And like I said before, this style of progression allows the game to have a lot more content since it actually saves your progress. And that's not even to get into the cheat items. Before you start a scene, you can equip yourself with one of the game's items to help you cheat against the Impossible Spell Card. You have stuff like the Nimble Cloth, which you can use to cover yourself from attacks, though you can't move. The Gap Folding Umbrella, which lets you warp from one side of the screen to the other, and a Tengu Toy Camera, which lets you take pictures of bullets to remove them from the screen. Fun fact, the camera actually comes from another Touhou spin-off called Shoot the Bullet, where it's the main mechanic there. Oh yeah, there's also the Bloodthirsty Yin Yang Orb, which, shit. Yeah, it lets you teleport, but there's a noticeable delay before you actually do. It's still useful though. These items all have their own number of uses though, so it's not like you can just spam them all willy-nilly. But you can level up your items to give them more uses and make them more effective, which is done by beating enough scenes with that item. You only start off with 3 different items to use, but you unlock more as you progress. You've heard me gush about how much I love the scene-based progression of this game, and now it's time for me to gush about how much fun the cheat items are. These items kick ass. It's the fun of breaking a game with, say, action replay codes, except this time the game is actually balanced around it, so it still gives you a challenge. I love trying out different items to see which could help me the most during a scene I'd be struggling with, or even just replaying completed scenes, but with a different item to change how I play. I'm also really glad that the items in this game don't have the same problem as, say, the badges in Super Mario Wonder, or different playable characters in Super Meat Boy. In those games, the levels didn't feel like they were designed to make use of the different badges or characters. Which, I get, the devs had to account for every single option, but impressively in Impossible Spell Card, pretty much all the items feel way more like they're meant to be used, if that makes sense. The game's designed around them, but it's not a trial and error kind of thing, where you have to find out which item makes it possible. No, it's possible with any item. And the whole system of leveling up these items gives you more of an incentive to replay previous scenes. Thankfully, the game isn't super stingy with the leveling system. It's not like to get an item at max level you need to complete every single scene in the game with it. No. The level up amount is fair. You also later get the ability to equip a sub-item in addition to your main item. Items that are equipped as sub-items basically give you a new passive ability, like a smaller hitbox or faster movement when unfocused. What's really weird is when you get this ability, is when you're fighting Mommy Zhao, who tells Sage that she isn't using the full potential of her items since she still has one free hand. Yeah, Mommy Zhao just gives Sage that piece of advice despite her being after the bounty on Sage. It's an extra tip, I guess. Now then, where were we? Though it does make me wonder how Sage is still able to shoot bullets when both of her hands are being used for items. Sage controls great, not too fast or too slow, which is pretty damn important considering she's the only playable character here. Which might sound disappointing for some people, but I think it's fine. It makes sense considering the plot, and the different cheat items are there for the gameplay variety. When it comes to the spell cards, once again, they're really well designed and a ton of fun to dodge. It really is impressive how many unique bullet patterns Zune can come up with, and how different they all feel. I didn't really explain it in my Touhou 6 review, but each character you go up against in the Touhou series has bullets that are personalized to them, if that makes sense. Like how Sakuya throws knives, Yuyuko's bullets having a ghostly glow to them, Yoshika uses a lot of kunai, you get the picture. Needless to say, that's really cool. And in this particular game, you're going up against a wide variety of different Touhou characters, who are all after Seiya. Some of the most memorable scenes in the game are the ones against Aya, though I don't want to spoil why that is. The spell cards are all named as usual, the actual scenes that contain each spell card also have names. One of my favorites is this one, If Only the Screen Didn't Have Edges. Once you play it, you'll understand why it has that name. There's no selectable difficulty options this time around, but the game has a perfect challenge. It puts up a great fight, but I don't feel like I have to be pixel perfect task levels of perfection. Struggling with certain scenes, trying out different item strategies, and finally overcoming that challenge, it's all such a great feeling. Now, despite this game being much longer than a mainline Touhou game, there's actually less dialogue here. You'll usually get a cutscene at the beginning or end of a day, which is basically this game's version of a world, but that's about it. The game just overall has a much faster pace of beating a scene, then moving on to the next. Again, like Super Meat Boy. The dialogue here is also more straightforward, and not so much "what the fuck am I reading" like some of the text in the mainline games. Now, despite the cheat items being a main gameplay mechanic, get this, it's actually possible to beat all the scenes itemless, and it's incredibly difficult. Don't get me wrong, the scenes are still designed around using cheat items, but they've also been made to be just barely possible without them if you can figure out how and are precise enough to actually do it. The best example I can give is with the first scene in the game. You have this ripple of bullets coming towards you, and at first it absolutely does look impossible without, say, using the nimble cloth to hide yourself. However, if you wait in the corner of the screen where the bullets will take the longest amount of time to get to you, it'll create a gap just barely big enough to squeeze through. It's like one of those videos, "can you beat this game without using this?" that I know you've seen on YouTube before, but it's built into the game. I do sometimes like going for itemless clears for the extra challenge, specifically on the easier scenes, but I also still have fun using the cheat items. It's a win-win. I tend to play through the game normally, and then later down the line, I might go back to a completed scene and try it out itemless. What's really nice is that the game keeps track of which scenes you've completed itemless, and an itemless clear will count as a clear for every item you have, so you can still level up items by doing an itemless clear. If you want to complete every single scene itemless though, then good luck. The game already isn't easy, and there are plenty of scenes that took me a while when playing normally. It's a fun thing to try here and there for some scenes, but I definitely didn't feel like I needed to clear them all itemless. I've only done about 32 out of 70. Now, what about that soundtrack? You can always count on these being great in Touhou, right? Is Impossible Spellcard's OST as legendary as Touhou 6 and the other mainline games? Well, no, I'll just tell you that right now. But don't get me wrong, it's definitely not a bad soundtrack. It's actually a really good soundtrack. I really like the song that goes dun 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 dun.
No man, you're thinking of beep boo boo bop boo boo bop.
Anyway, there's a lot less music here than your regular Touhou game, as many scenes are going to share the same song, which should be expected. It would be insane if all 70 or so scenes in the game have your own song, though some songs in the game are reused from the game right before this one called Double Dealing Character. But yeah, the music is still genuinely great, but to be specific, it's not super amazing enough to listen to over and over again on your own time, like the mainline games, but when you're playing the game, the music does slap and adds to the experience. But speaking of Double Dealing Character, man, that game's main menu music was so amazing. The reason I bring this up is because it makes me can't help but wish Impossible Spellcard had a main menu song that was just as good, considering how often you're visiting the main menu to choose your items, scenes, and such. I mean, in Double Dealing Character, you're barely spending any time in the menu, so you'd have to purposely go out of your way to stay in the menu to listen to the amazing song. Or look it up on YouTube, your choice. There's also the nickname system, which is basically what this game calls achievements. It's neat. Most of them you'll probably just get naturally as you play, but I like reading some of the descriptions on these. I wasn't able to get this damn last one though. I'm guessing it has to do with playtime, considering where it's ordered on the list. But overall, Impossible Spellcard's a damn good Touhou game. I'm really glad I decided to step out of my comfort zone and try out a spin-off game. It's definitely up there as a contender for my favorite Touhou game, and I really wish we get a sequel. Although, that's looking quite unlikely at this point. But anyway, thanks for watching, as per usual.
Beat 'em up, beat 'em up, beat 'em up, beat 'em up. Reese's Puffs, beat 'em up, beat 'em up, beat 'em up, beat 'em up. I got Reese's Puffs in my bowl. Nowadays on cruise control. I got Reese's Puffs in my bowl. And just like that, I'm on a roll. Reese's Puffs, beat 'em up, beat 'em up, beat 'em up, beat 'em up. Reese's Puffs, beat 'em up, beat 'em up, beat 'em up, beat 'em up.